Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all having a wonderful day wherever you may be. So I found this flat earther that has gracefully given us a ton of content to work with. Yep, that's right. He gives us 50 scientific facts for the downfall of modern astronomy. Not one, not two, but 50 scientific facts, which, makes total sense, using science to disprove science. What, you've never used something to debunk itself before? Of course, we're not going to be able to touch on all 50 of them in this video, but we'll try to get through as many as we can. Let's shoot for 10.
1. The word astronomy is taken from the Greek words signifying the laws of the stars. Astron, a star. Nomos, a law. Nemo, to regulate, a science that explains the regulation of the stars. It is quite distinct from the science of physical geography, which belongs entirely to the Earth. For astronomy, we must look up. For geography, look down.
Okay, so you're trying to use the roots of the word to prove some kind of point here. I always say this and I'll say it again. It doesn't matter what the word used to mean or how it originated. The only thing that matters in a debate like this is what the word means today. Arguing semantics is not going to strengthen your position. Let's try to go through these quickly so we can get to as many, quote, facts as we can.
2. The Earth belongs not at all to the science of astronomy, as it is not a planet, a star, nor a heavenly body. The mixing of things by speech, which by nature are distinct, causes contradiction, circumlocution, and all absurdity.
But that's only under the premise that the Earth isn't a planet, which it very well is. You're just out here spitting out crazy claims without actually going into any detail as to any of your evidence behind it. Modern science gives us all the indication that the Earth is indeed a planet. A planet is a celestial body that orbits around a star. That's a pretty vague definition and leaves room for many different types of planets such as rocky bodies or gas giants. That being said, the Earth revolves around our sun, which is a star, and that's why it is a planet. You may not agree with the scientifically accepted model of the solar system, but that doesn't make your model any more true until you can provide good scientific evidence that shifts our perspective on how the universe works, which by the way at this point is pretty much an impossible feat due to the amount of evidence we already have against your position. Good luck anyway.
3. The Earth was created 3 days before the planets, therefore it is not in the order of planets. It is not a globe, and has never revolved a mile. It must be as fixed as a sundial to accomplish the remarkable phenomena, the precision of the equinoxes.
Again, you're using a premise that is faulty to begin with, trying to draw a conclusion that is dependent on that premise. What do you mean the Earth was created 3 days before the planets? I mean, I know you're pulling that from the Bible, interpreting the book of Genesis in a literal sense. But again, no evidence. Nothing to even pinpoint the Bible as being literally true in its account of the creation of the universe. I already have a ton of videos that debunk Genesis already, so I'll sit this one out this time. But seriously, rather than believing the first chapter of a book written thousands of years ago, I'd much rather believe scientific facts that have been proven to be true. Oh, by the way, he took some time to show some footage of, I guess, stars flashing different colors, so I'll have to briefly address that. Without knowing what kind of camera or atmosphere conditions were present for this footage, it's hard to say why exactly they're flashing like that, but this isn't uncommon at all. The sun itself and even the sky aren't their actual colors, but are due to refraction of light in the atmosphere. Meanwhile, stars seen at night also don't appear what they are in reality for the same reason. That being said, again, without knowing how this footage was taken, it's hard to say, but I guarantee it's something to do with the light being changed in some way before it makes its way into the camera lens. The fact that we don't see this every night when looking out onto the stars is enough to convince me that this is some sort of light effect at play here.
4. A planet is a wandering star. The Earth is not a wandering star. A star is a burning lamp. The Earth is not a burning lamp. The heavenly bodies are in the firmament of the sky. The Earth is not in the sky, nor in the plane of the sun. Else, when on the equator, you would see the sun in a straight line before you, but it is seen right over your head. The planets might well blush to own for company the Earth so vile and stained.
Yeah, whatever a wandering star is. I don't know what he means by seeing the sun in a straight line in front of you, because that doesn't make any sense to me. But again, this is just a chain of claims that came out of nowhere, having no evidence behind it, and he expects you to blindly take it as true. Nothing much more to say here, let's move on.
5. The planets have a very eccentric motion. They occasionally slacken their pace, then stop, move backwards on their track, stop again, and finally resume their onward motion. If this occurred to the Earth as a planet, everything must go to confusion and destruction, revolving as is supposed several ways at one time.
But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how the solar system works. Yes, in the sky we see other planets move in pretty irregular movements. Specifically, they kind of go in looping patterns. But remember, this is all our perspective from being on Earth. The flat earther seems to have forgotten that planets revolve around the sun, and since the Earth is one of those planets, we too are also revolving around the sun. So since we have two different orbiting patterns, it's no wonder that the path of other planets in our perspective isn't going to be consistently a circle. Planets change speeds, turn, and even move backwards in our eyes, but if you were situated on the sun, the orbits would be pretty consistent. That being said, the planets do move pretty consistently, so Earth being one of those planets in the solar system also moves pretty consistently. There's no actually moving backwards, turning, or whatever that you claim.
6. No revolving body whatever was ever made, constructed, or intended for habitation. Show us a revolving body, we show you an uninhabited body. Show us an inhabited body, we show you an unrevolving body.
That's a pretty bad argument that is kind of, but not that similar to the watchmaker argument. Just because you yourself can't think of an example of something living on a spinning object does not mean that this can't work for the Earth, because ultimately the Earth is on a much larger scale, spinning so consistently that you can't feel it. If you wanted to strengthen this argument, you must explain why living things can't live on land that is constantly rotating. Go into the biology, the biochemistry, the building blocks of life, actual science, because otherwise I could say the same. Life can't exist on stationary objects.
7. The non-revolution of the Earth is every moment self-evident, but people have been so hoodwinked that false theories are believed before the testimony of the eyes. If true, no railway engine could keep the metals as the hand cannot be kept on the drum of a revolving shaft.
I don't know how many times I have to say this to flat earthers, but the Earth's and the solar system's movements are so consistent that you cannot feel it. It's just like if you're on a train or an airplane. Even though the airplane is moving at almost 1,000 kilometers per hour, you can't feel it at all. The only time you feel any movement is if the plane turns or jerks its consistent movement. Anything that breaks its consistency is what you feel, because we feel acceleration, not velocity. Please get that through your thick skull.
8. Every solid building must rest on solid foundations. That the Earth is on its foundations is declared by the master builder 30 times over. 12 times it is said to be established or fixed. 4 times on its pillars, once on its sure base that it should not move at any time.
Yeah, no, that's the exact same thing you said for your previous point.
9. At least 3/4 of the world's surface is water. Water always finds its level, and moves till it does. Every calm sea is a true level, therefore 3/4 of the world's surface being level. Of what use is it to suppose the other quarter globular?
Water does not, quote, find its level. That's just a term that flat earthers came up with. Rather, water will always fit the shape of its container because it will always flow towards lower potential areas. Oftentimes, in our perspective, this seems flat because we are tiny compared to the Earth, so just like land, it appears flat. However, in reality, water really just wraps around the Earth because it doesn't seek a level, it seeks lower potential energy. And water is already known to do a lot of curving from the adhesion of surfaces such as a cup, for example. So no, water is not always level, nor is it always flat.
10. The late R.A. Proctor said, "If the sea is proved to be a level, there is something wrong in modern astronomy."
I'm not even going to play the rest of that because it's the same argument essentially. Water being level makes sense to a common person who doesn't know any better because that's all they would experience. In the diagram there, that would apply to any small-scaled model you create because it's not the Earth. The Earth, meanwhile, has gravity that pulls everything towards the center. This diagram here would only be the case if gravity was always pointing downwards, which it does not. Imagine the same thing, but you have a special force that pulled everything towards the center of this sphere. Then it would make total sense. Anyway, that's the first 10 out of 50, quote, facts in this video. I think this may become a series of 5 episodes where we ultimately will go through all 50 points. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you later.